While driving, this man suddenly felt a stomachache, but it let his intestines experience a war crisis. The brain's command was to not open the floodgates, but this command could only affect the external sphincter. The internal sphincter would only follow the instincts of the intestines. Just as both sides were preparing for war, the man discovered the next service station was just 2 kilometers away. Instantly, he breathed a sigh of relief, but indirectly relaxed the restraint on his intestines. As the alarm sounded, the confrontational state between the two sides was broken. Even the red blood cells that came to deliver oxygen were swept up into it. It turned out the corn his colleague gave him in the morning had a problem. It must have been in a half-cooked state, and after baking in the sun, the inside had actually already begun to spoil. But the man didn't notice and still ate it all. As a burst of foul odor came, the vanguard had also reached the excretory outlet. With the joint efforts of the external sphincter and red blood cells, they managed to barely hold the position. But when 1 kilometer away from the service station, the man saw a terrible scene. A traffic jam, and his stomach hurt even more severely, no longer able to suppress the surging mutation. Fortunately, the position of the external sphincter was still very solid and even forcibly pushed the shit back. And as the traffic flow loosened, victory was in sight. The man, relying on his strong willpower, provided enough energy to the external sphincter. The man finally arrived at the service station. He had just parked and quickly jumped out, but going from sitting to standing, the external sphincter was surprised attacked by the internal sphincter again, and with the rupture of hemorrhoids, the red blood cells instantly suffered heavy losses. Fortunately, all the perseverance finally brought rewards. The man ran into the restroom holding his butt. Who would have thought he would again see a terrible scene? Not only was the restroom already full, there were also quite a few people queuing, but the good news was, someone was about to come out. Finally, he could release himself as the external sphincter received the command from the brain. The path to the outside world was opened. Those bad things roared and rushed out. The red blood cells were tightly embraced by them, but still couldn't withstand this surging torrent. Just as they were about to be taken away together, at the critical moment, the man finally completed the release. The crisis had ended. They waited for the final victory. But just as the two were preparing to retreat, the man's pupils suddenly dilated. There was actually a second wave of attack. The completely unprepared red blood cells were again enveloped within it. It's just that this time they weren't so lucky.